Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? So we're going to be talking production sets. Let's get right into it. So, obviously, you guys have probably heard that, when it comes to actually doing resources in the game, and anybody and everybody that's ever done a hyper recount would probably tell you that there's a way to do it all. Um, for example, okay, if you're somebody that wants to boost his gold production rates, you can obviously rebuild a bunch of manors and have all manors, and you're going to have a really high gold sword and a really high gold production. And that's really good and all, but what can you do to actually increase production rates in general? Now, obviously, you guys have probably known that familiars in the game are actually providing a production boost, whether that be oak root to whomever. Okay, you guys have probably noticed this. I mean, obviously, you can even go into the research, and you've probably noticed the economy tree has research that is in fact bonusing your production rates. There's a bunch of little places you can do it, but obviously you can also do it in the workshop. Now, when it comes to production sets, obviously everybody that's learned how to use this will know that all you got to do is click on the gold production rate and YOLO. Now you know what the item is. So as you can tell, the Helm of Conquest, Lightning Guard, Dwarven Toe Guard, and then nothing apparently for the main hand. The Griffin's Talon for the offhand, and the Frostwing's Breath for the accessory, being at 50% when it's at gold. And obviously, your free-to-play alternatives are always down here. I mean, you can see down here that 22% is about as high as you can get for the crystal tier. But again, these are little things that you definitely want to keep in mind as you are, essentially getting your production gear. But obviously, pick a production type, and there you go. There's pretty much the answer to the long-awaited riddle. But now, what else can you possibly do? Well, funny enough, if you are trying to produce a higher production rate, you can actually do it with your heroes as well. Interestingly enough, in the case of Soul Forger, he gives 150% gold production, but you'll find that on different heroes in the game, whether that be Rose Knight or whomever, there's a production rate associated to them. So getting them to legendary, or aka the gold status of maximum medals, is important. So make sure to make use of those brave hearts and the stamina that you get every single day so that you, too, can actually get the benefits associated with these particular heroes. Now, obviously, what about, buying bags? What about going through and paying for resources, which I'm sure some of you guys out there are probably scoffing at. Because, again, you guys have probably known there are packs out there where, you can buy 6 million gold for $5. You can buy, X blank amount of gold for whatever. I mean, even for $100, you only get, what, 20 million gold? I mean, it's not enough. And I know you guys have probably heard about the video that BNN had recently put out. I'll link it in this. Well, I'll even link it in the description below, so you guys can take it a look. But again, there is more than one way to get an enormous quantity of resources, and obviously that is what a lot of people prefer. But of course, when it comes to getting resources and doing it in a way that's just as effective as possible, there's about 4 proven methods to really get at it. You can either build your hypers and do what I've suggested. Obviously, if you did not already know, and this wasn't, already not known already, you can obviously go in your talents and you can boost up your production rate that way as well. Okay, but, assuming that you've done everything that I've suggested up to this point, make 15 accounts and you may make enough resources on bare minimum onto one account. But you're obviously going to have a struggle. And a lot of that, it takes with time. In fact, in my experience, when it comes to building multiple accounts to do that, you're really going to have a hard time doing it. And it takes a lot of dedication to do. So I don't necessarily recommend it for the novice player. But for those of you out there that are really willing to put in the time every day, treating it like your main account, I'm sure you'll achieve what you're after in terms of resource production. But if you're like me and you don't want to have to spend all that time, what else can you possibly do to improve that production, that resource gain, right? What could you possibly do? Well, one of the few things that I've done is obviously, everybody to anybody gathers in the game. But what you can do is you can actually put on gathering gear. So in my case, this is the gathering gear that I like to wear. And what I do is I'll go out and I'll go find me a bunch of level 2s and a bunch of level 3s, and I'll just, I'll basically gather a bunch of those and pop a 25% boost onto my gather. And what I'm going to do essentially is eventually I will get the Nostros familiar, and I'll just make heads and tails benefits out of being able to gather. And I feel like if you gather a lot, that's a really nice way to get a good chunk of resources really quickly. But if you're wanting to get it even faster, obviously you can go out, look for guilds and those dead kingdoms especially of, players that are just kind of messing around, and you can always steal their resources too, and that's not always a bad option. But needless to say, I hope you guys found some of this information helpful, and well, I'll see you guys next time.